Guys, welcome to My Guy Reviews review of John Wick 3. The third installment in the John Wick franchise now. And I think when we talk about it, we'll have to spoil the first two, because I think there's no way of talking about the third one without going back in time and talking about the other two. Just a quick kind of update, kind of like in terms of like John Wick 3 and how big the franchise has got. Like the first one, don't know if you know this, Monkey, right? The first one cost about 20 million. It's a really small kind of budget film, right? And it made like I think 88 million worldwide, with about 45 in the US and the rest. And then the second one cost a little bit more, and then it opened, as in terms of its US box office, was 92 million. So it made more the second time around. Just in the US, it outgrossed the first one in like miles.
Yeah, I can believe that.
And now this one's got a bigger budget again. It's 55 million now. So not massive, not like Fast and Furious money. It's still quite big. But its opening weekend so far is approximately like 55 to 57 million. So it's outgrossed the first one in US complete run. So it's in complete run in the first one. It's already outgrossed in a weekend. So this film's just got bigger and bigger, and you know, and it's got more and more popular. So so I guess as we always do, you know, you can't break down the synopsis of number 3, right? So,
what's it about?
What's it about? It stars Anne Hathaway, Rebel Wilson, and it's a remake of Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. Take it away.
It's Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves is John Wick.
Yes, he is.
Yes, he is. He's a badass assassin, like the best. But he quit back in before John Wick 1. Yeah. Because he found himself the love of his life. So spoilers for the whole series. This is the general outline of the whole lot. But he was dragged back in when someone killed his dog.
Oh, the beagle, the little. Oh.
It's all about revenge for the killing of that one dog. The whole series.
It is a man about his dog, yeah.
Man 100%. About that. He comes back out of retirement for revenge in the first movie.
Yeah.
The second movie, he gets set up. Yeah. Ends up betraying the code which he lives by, and that all has to be said because the third one is basically follows on straight from that, where he's broken the code, so now everyone is after him. He's a dead man walking, and that's what the third
limping.
Yeah, and he's got a new dog now, but he sends his dog to safety. Spoiler. Yeah.
Oh, she spoiled it. Oh. And then so this film literally starts as the last one ends. So in the last one, where the guy who owns the Continental puts the 14 million bounty on his head, and then literally this film starts with him limping away in the dark, wearing that immaculate suit that he does, and just kind of hobbling his way, because he's got a set period of time where he's got a bit of grace. Was it like an hour or something? I can't remember the time. But
he gets an hour for some reason.
so basically, get as much or whatever he needs, and to be prepared for what's about to happen.
The second movie, he gives the guy from the Continental gives him an extra hour that he shouldn't have given him.
Yes, that's what we find out, because the head table's a bit angry about all of this. So we'll get more into that. The whole film we'll just spoil the whole film. I think you can't really talk about it without spoiling it, even though there's not much in terms of twists and turns. It's just the film that you just really want to watch. I think the film's ramped up, right? So from John Wick 1, where the gun fu was great and it's just literally headshot after headshot, to the second one where again the action ramps up and there's that great subway scene with him and Common, to right at the very end where he kills the guy in the Continental Hotel, which kind of kickstarts number 3. And then this one, it's just ramped up even more. If you can ever imagine where can you take John Wick, well, this film takes it to not even the next, I'd say the level on top of the next level, because some of the action is just insane. Like it's amazing. And there's just huge action set pieces. So it's not just a couple of people dying and then, you know, that's kind of a minute or 2 minute section. There's this whole bit with him and Halle Berry. There's quite a long stretch that action, and the way this they follow Halle Berry around, or the way the camera moves around, and German Shepherd's amazing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, so shall we talk about the story itself?
If you like, yeah.
So he goes to the library. He asks for a specific book.
That's good near the beginning.
Yeah, and then he opens the book, and this is why you have to have seen. I think if you go into this film and you just kind of watch it, some of it is explained. I mean, the starting credits show you what the mark looks like, what the coins are. It gives you some sort of association with kind of this other underbelly of the real world, where these assassins and kind of they work off. But I think to truly appreciate this film, I think you have to have seen the others, especially when he looks back at the picture. There's flashbacks of people mention his wife, they mention him getting out. Those kind of things can make sense in the context of just this individual film. But I think for the full context, you have to have appreciated watching the first film.
I think it assumes a lot of pre-knowledge from those first movies.
Yeah.
Definitely. All those tokens and things, you're given the importance of them and the whole structure of it all in the first movie and the second movie as well. But yeah, really, with the third movie, you do have to sort of know what's going on a bit.
And it shows that people who've seen the first one came back and watched the second one, because I think that John Wick did get released in the UK, but it came a bit later. And I watched it on one of the streaming services in the UK, and I was like, oh, this is really good. And then the second one's when I went out and watched that one. So I was kind of one of those people who came into the film from the second film onwards in terms of watching in cinema. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I feel I appreciate the film more because I've seen the previous films, and a lot of those little bits make more sense. So when he's opening the book and he pulls out some of the coins and he pulls out the cross, all of that kind of makes sense to me. I'm like, okay, I can see where this is going, and then the action is just insane. It's amazing.
Well, this is where me and you differ on most things. The action. I found this movie a bit weaker in the action because it was a bit bigger, and like the whole areas were bigger. I felt it missed out a bit compared to the last two, where everything was always enclosed, and so you had a really good idea of everything going on. Whereas this one, it blows up, like you say, it's got a slightly bigger budget, and I found it a bit weaker in that sense.
Let me try and win you back then. Let's go. Let's talk about the act. Now that one-on-one fight in the library was amazing.
The library,
right?
That's good, yeah.
That's a good fight. One. Yeah, that's a good. Now, when he's on the horse.
Yeah, the horse as well.
And he actually does that thing where he rides on the horse sideways.
That's good, yeah.
And then he does a little peekaboo, shoots the guy in the head. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then the motorbikes and everything, all of that up to that point.
The motorbike with the swords, right? So he was riding along. They came out with the swords. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And then I think the Halle Berry bit is one of my favorites, because that not only is you can kind of see these two characters who are kind of shooting, and it followed the way the camera follows the individual. There's no respite for them, so you almost see it as a continuous shot.
Yeah.
But also the way they introduced the two dogs aspect of it as well. That was pretty cool. There's the bit where once the whole sequence is finished, they jump into the car, and then they maul the two people, and then she calls them over again, and they jump out of the car back into her car.
That's pretty cool stuff.
That stuff was cool. Yeah. So there's four action sequences already that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, right up to that point. I mean, the point where it's just another, defending the dogs moment. All of that is brilliant, and it just shows you that it is the John Wick series. It's got all the staples, so in that sense, it's brilliant. But
I think you didn't like him walking in the desert. I know that's not an action sequence. It's just
no, I think it was the enemies. The enemies on the dog scene just didn't really. The whole thing didn't really do it for me. I liked the dogs running about and doing this and that. That was fun, but. There's something missing about maybe the enemies at that point. But yeah, carry on. Try and keep convincing me.
There's that fight that he has with about 3 or 4 goons in a shop. You know, when he keeps smashing the cases and he pulls out knives and stuff and starts throwing they start throwing them back at him. And that's cool, right?
It is cool. It is cool.
That's another cool action sequence. So
early on, it's great. I think I just got a little bit tired near the end of the sort of action and where it was going. Maybe the whole direction of the movie was just feeling a bit loose. And it sort of started to turn me off near the end.
I think because there's so much happens, and then at the end you have the whole continental fight where you're in the hotel, and they've got guns. Obviously, John Wick's got guns. He asked for guns, lots of them, just like in the Matrix. So that's cool.
Exactly,
cool.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. He delivered the line exactly the same, and I was just like, oh man, you know, they couldn't give him any script. He would have read the same words. And then they just give him all the guns, but they then realize that all these people are wearing like armor, and he keeps shooting them in the head with the head mask, and that was pretty cool as well, because then he changed weapons and he went to shotgun, and that was cool. Like that whole kind of sequence changed. I like the individual fights he had as well. So he had the one with Marc Damascus, I think his name is, the main villain. Yeah. That was quite cool. And then there's two, I don't know if they're like brothers or twins or whatever, but the way they fought John Wick, and they really respected him, and they really kind of gave him his props. And that was another good, because it just goes to show John Wick is not like invincible. He does take a beating. He does get back up. It's just he's maybe more determined than the others. But there are times where he took a beating as well. Like those glass, the bit in the hotel when they've got those glass displays, and he's getting smashed through them and stuff. And he's just, he's getting back up, but he's taking a beating. Yeah, I think that was all quite cool as well.
Yeah, and the main villain, not the main actual main villain maybe, but the main fighter villain. It's still the bald guy.
Yes.
Like I found it quite funny that he's actually just an over enthusiastic fan of John Wick.
Well, if you're an assassin, right?
Amazing. The best thing ever. He's such a weird character.
But would you not be like, if that's your day to day, and there's someone who's just as good, but you've seen him do this work all the time, and you're like, oh my god, he takes out this many assassins, and I'm trying to do small work. I want to be like him. I want to take out more high profile people. I want to have that name and buzz around my community like he does. So I guess if you're an aspiring criminal, not criminal, but as an assassin, maybe you look up to him.
Definitely. But you would say the lady, so actually the main villain of this is actually the high table.
Yes. With chairs. I'm guessing there's chairs.
There's probably chairs. There had to be high chairs then.
Yeah, the high chair.
Babies.
Yeah.
Babies complaining about John Wick.
Making boardroom decisions. Yeah.
We don't like John Wick. Let us stay up late.
Yeah, it's too strict.
Won't buy us ice cream. Yeah, so what do you think about the high table in this? Because I always thought of the high table as probably like a collaboration of like all the people that are in these different separate organizations.
Okay.
But then in this movie, the high table suddenly becomes something that's kind of separate, and like suddenly it's just making all these rules, and really no one really likes anything that they're doing. So it's setting them up as a completely different sort of an enemy for the rest of the series. Perhaps.
Yeah, I think they have to take the story in a certain way. So the hotel owner put the mark on John Wick. He obviously has to get rid of that or kill everyone in the world. But in doing so, you need another enemy. You need someone to for him to face off against. And I think that's where this high table concept is maybe changed and tweaked to the point where you're right, where people are saying, yeah, we don't like them. They're just around and they're kind of just sitting on top. And it's almost leading up to, I guess the first film is pretty much self-contained, and they didn't know what they were doing. So they kept it as a non-open-ended ending. It was ended and it was finished, and, he was satisfied. We killed everyone who had shot the dog or who had killed the dog, and everyone was finished, right? The second one ended, but it purposefully ended with we'll explore the next bit in the sequel. And this one ended with, spoiler alert, Laurence Fishburne talking to John Wick about taking on the high table. So to me, the ending wasn't as satisfying, where it didn't end, and it didn't just feel like, okay, 1, 2, 3 are finished, and you've left maybe just enough crumbs for a future franchise, a third or spin-off or whatever. But what they did was the film ended with that kind of cliffhanger ending again, where, okay, well we'll come back to this universe, and he'll be killing more people.
Yeah, it wasn't even a cliffhanger. It was more, to me, it felt more like, right, this is the third movie. Look, we're setting up a whole future now. We're going to have more movies. Don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about anything. We're just going to keep throwing movies.
We'll just pumping more out, yeah. But they're not terrible movies. They're good films. It's just, it will just be a continuous story. And at some point, you got to, at least with the Fast and Furious films, they are almost self-contained nonsense where you can go watch one of them and not have to worry. Like Fast 5, you can go watch that one and not worry about kind of what's happened previously. But then they started to string a tiny bit of story between films. And I think it works better when they're just kind of, okay, it's a John Wick adventure. Maybe we should go back and just see John Wick doing a assassination, or, several assassinations. Keep it quite simple. Follow that mission or those missions, and he has to go there to wherever it is, kill the Mark, and come back out.
They could do a flashback. They could set up a story in the current time by doing a flashback of something he's done in the past, because he's done all this cool stuff.
Or even just the current day mission, right? So he went
now he's back in the game,
Yeah, he went to the desert, and they said, okay, you got to go do this mission, but we're not going to do anything about it. People will still try and kill you. It's fine. Maybe he just goes off and does a mission, just a standard mission. That'd be quite cool.
Also, his character started to be weaker now, because he's a bit of an idiot. Like before, he's like, I'm just going to get out. I'm just going to get out of the game because of my wife and all that. And now he's back in the game, like, by accident. But now he's just like, I'm kind of in and out. I don't really care now.
I'll do what I'm told.
I want to kill people. Oh yeah, but I'm happy to do what I'm told now. And now I'm not. I don't know. He hasn't got the same principles as he did before.
He's cashing in all his chips as well, right? Yeah. So he cashed in his.
He's gonna start using everyone else's chips. I think.
All those marks that he's had, and he's soon gonna have no more friends and allies who owe him anything. So it's a case of, well, Laurence Fishburne will help him, and they'll take down the high table in the next film, or will they find another person who sits on top of that by the end of the fourth film, and then say, okay, it will wrap up by number 5? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, because we've already seen the head of the high table, haven't we? So.
Yeah, he's the dude in the desert, right?
Dude in the desert, yeah, who finds you because just walks randomly about the desert and.
That's it, looking for people.
He's a criminal overlord, so obviously he has people telling him that just what's going on in the middle of the desert. He knows when people are walking through there.
Exactly. I guess all you have to do is you just have to keep someone out there in the desert, one looker, and he or she tells you when you need to come out.
Maybe he uses Google Earth.
I bet, who wouldn't use Google Earth? On his live satellite feeds. It's also good that he doesn't use, like John Wick doesn't use technology like a James Bond film. He'll take tech to a whole new level, and then it just becomes too easy. With John Wick, the stakes are a little bit higher because he's more of a street level kind of assassin who has to kind of work his way out of situations without gadgets where you could press a button. Where you press a button and it does something and it's all disarmed everybody. He has to literally use any kind of surroundings, which is really cool about John Wick. And I think that's what, for me, makes the character enduring, is knowing that he could be in a situation where he has to work his way out of it without there being a simple kind of exit strategy, which is like, oh, do this and he's fine.
Yeah, and it sort of goes back to sort of like the Jackie Chan movies and things like that, where he's always using the stuff around him. So purposely using like a step ladder that's there and a chair and things like that. So the action's cool in that sense. It's environmental. Just grabbing anything to hand.
Let's talk about the dogs, right? So I know you're a huge fan of dogs and you just love them so much.
Of course, we all love dogs.
Everyone does.
How can you not love dogs?
Even John Wick does. Now he got a baby beagle to start off with, this cute little thing, and then obviously that the directors thought it'd be funny that the dog gets shot dead.
Funny.
And then, well, they wrote it into the story.
It's revenge. It's serious here. I mean,
and then
you can kill a human being. You can kill his wife.
Exactly.
You
That's
can
what
kill
I was
his child. No one cares until you kill the dog, and then everything is like that's it. Everything's going insane now. That is not. I'm not going to let that one lie.
No, I mean you kill an innocent dog. I mean that changes the whole thing. And then in the second one, he gets a pit bull, a gorgeous grey pit bull. Reminds me of when Cesar Millan uses this pit bull. So he used to have like a golden pit bull, and he used to call him Daddy, but the grey one he used to call Junior. I loved him. And then he has this gorgeous grey pit bull, and I've never seen the pit bull on an action sequence, but I want to see him with like a gun in his mouth, a laser coming out, some rockets, something, right?
There's future for that. Lasers on his back.
Get him out with some stuff.
Because John Wick doesn't use technology, so give it to the dog. Give it to the dog. You can have lasers.
No. That doesn't work. When you think about it, right? In this universe, you wouldn't have a dog with all those crazy over the top. But maybe if you could train him to use a machine gun.
Yeah. Or a handgun in his mouth, that would be good.
Or grenades, dropping grenades off.
Yeah, that could work. A bit dangerous,
but yeah. But yeah, so that one was, he actually rescued that one in the second one, right? He rescued it from like a dog park or somewhere. And that one stayed. And I like the start of the film where he just says, "Oh, send the dog to the hotel and they'll look after him." And this beautiful dog just walks up and he just goes, "Yeah, come in."
Exactly. His priority is get the dog back to safety. So it's got the center theme of the movie still there.
And then we don't see him again till the end, and I'm like, oh, well, where's his dog? Like, wouldn't he missing his dog so much? He should be looking at his pictures, like in his little. Maybe he doesn't carry a wallet. I don't know wherever he keeps.
He's got a picture of his wife on one side.
Exactly, and now his new dog, so he has to have a little.
Wife and he's like, "Oh, I'm sad." Then he sees his dog and he starts crying.
He's crying, So maybe he has like you have those little lockets that open up and you have a picture on one side. So one side would be like his wife, and the other side would be the two dogs that he's had so far.
The dog on the left and the other dog on the right.
Yeah, and just engraved by his wife on the back of it. So there's no picture of it
hanging on his neck.
And then Halle Berry had two dogs, and she had two German Shepherds. Now they got incredible action sequences.
They got loads of action because they
got amazing action sequences. They were, I don't know who trained them, I don't know what they did, but they were so good.
Yeah. But when I was watching them, I kept on thinking, but why would she loves the dogs? Why would she want them in danger? But they are so good. So
yeah. Plus they wear bulletproof vests, don't they? As we found out when one got shot.
Yeah. Never shoot a dog in the movie.
Brought a tear to my eye. And it made that noise. I hear that noise all the time with my dogs.
I just love it. It's just one shot and it's revenge time.
Exactly. Everyone's just like... She's like, no, but that's the only thing she didn't want to give him. She was like, you know what? I'll give you whatever, right? I'll shoot whoever you want to kill, whatever you want. You ain't having my dog.
You kick my dog.
Exactly.
You shoot my dog.
Exactly. No one cares. That's what these John Wick films are all about. It's about a man and his love for his dog.
Yeah.
And in this case, two dogs, but
still. And I'm glad his dog was safe. And when you see him, I shouldn't spoil when the dog actually comes to see John Wick, but that was lovely.
Ah, brought a tear to my eye.
Just to see the dog come in, it's good.
And then so the film kind of ends where the Continental Hotel is given back to can't remember the actor's name, but it's given back to
the actor's name.
or the guy owns it, his name. And then he just shoots John Wick, and he shot him in the chest where he would wear bulletproof vests or something. But that fall at the end looked crazy. That he spun. He hit the thing on the side, and then he hit something on the way down. Oh, and he just somehow survived.
Was it Ian McShane?
Oh, that's it. Yes. Yeah. That's the man. He owns the Continental. He's on it today. Comes with his notes.
That's all the research I'm doing, but it's done. I wanted to know the name.
And then and then we see Laurence Fishburne had it. He's not dead, and they just have a quick chat, and you see his severed finger again. And they kind of just like hint at the future, but it's definitely. I mean, maybe we're not giving the film justice because you were shitting all over the action sequences and said it's like the least favorite of the franchise.
Actually, I really liked the beginning, and probably up to halfway, I was actually really excited for it. I think I just got tired of it by the end. I was thinking,
shoot someone in the desert. That's what you're thinking.
I just wanted to see John doing more cool stuff, but it just felt kind of like other people were doing stuff more. And,
yeah, the motorbike stuff is near the end.
They just did too much good stuff at the beginning. That's what it is.
Oh, it's just they ramped it up too high for you.
I mean, the beginning. I mean, it's just so epic at the beginning. To be fair, it is John Wick epicness.
But it has to be because I think for anyone who's not seen any of the films, if they're coming into this one cold, then you have to show the severity of the issue that's currently around him, where he's got the hour's grace, and then all these assassins are basically just been given free reign to just do whatever if they get hold of him to kill him, basically. And so they have to ramp it up until he gets to safety, and then he kind of gets that safe passage and all of that stuff. But up until that point, he is a man on a list.
Yeah, he's on the back foot.
So yeah, I thoroughly loved it. I recommend it. I love the action sequences. I don't think it's worse. I think for you, because you got to the desert and you didn't take his gun out to kill anyone, I think maybe at that point you're like, oh, this gun fu is quite boring, and he's actually saying some dialogue. Just shoot someone. Maybe there was too much exposition then, and there wasn't enough killing. Maybe that's more your issue than it is a film issue.
I think it was less the action that gave me the problem, but it was more the pacing of the movie, where directions and what was going on with the high table was feeling a bit weaker. So I was feeling a bit weaker in general for the enemies. So yeah.
So I guess
I still enjoyed the movie.
So I guess as a franchise, should we rank the films thus far 1, 2, 3? Okay. Which would you say is the most wickest film of all?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, I was so impressed by the first one, but they do carry well all the way through. So really, I would have 1, 2, and the first half of 3 as my top.
And then the fourth one is the second half.
And the second half, is a bit. It's a bit like, oh, we're going through the motions now. We know what's going to happen. He's got to fight these guys. Got to do this. Blah blah blah.
No, I disagree with the last bit you said, but I would recommend. I think the first one is great because you get to see these two directors who get this tiny little budget and make an action film out of it, which isn't CGI heavy or isn't kind of like full of massive car action sequences, but it's such a great tight film. Which gives you just little crumbs about the world that they live in and this underbelly of the assassins and stuff. And the second one kind of builds on that a bit more, but it is a filler film. That's the only problem I had with the second one. And the third one, I think, kind of does all of that again. And it's still a bit of a filler as well. But the action is ramped up.
There we go.
So much more.
I've won you over. It's filler.
Man, I hated this film.
It's a shit film. It's just filler.
It's a shit film. I don't know why we're talking about it. It was awful. I mean, what was the point? Nothing. We got nowhere. He's still in the same situation. He's just now with
Keanu Reeves is John Wick, and he comes back from. I mean, he's done The Matrix. He's done Speed. He's done all that stuff. But now he's just showing how amazing an actor he is. Now he's just.
With his amazing reach,
it's really
guns.
Great.
Lots of guns.
He's really great at action, and being a cold hard action killer is good.
Nah, the films are rubbish. You're right. Let's stick with that.
0 out of 10.
No, they are really good, solid films. It's just in terms of story, that there's no end to them. I still want to see number 4 and number 5. I want to know when they're ending the series, and I want to see spin-offs. I want to see someone else join a John Wick franchise as John Wick's ally. Someone like Halle Berry came into this one, and she had that cool action sequence with him. Maybe he can take on another assassin, and the two of them can go off and have an adventure, or kind of kill the High Table together or something. Or maybe the next one, they just kill the High Table, and then, him and his dog are living a happy life. Maybe number 5 can just be kind of like what every pet owner goes through. He goes for a walk in the morning with his dog, goes for a walk in the evening, and lives on his farm, and, has fun.
And picks berries.
Yeah, and then he finds his dog's got litter. He's just like Thanos. Exactly like that, yeah. And Wick's killed half the population of America anyway.
He's killed half the population. He's
pretty much done a Thanos anyway.
Yeah, with the Infinity Dog.
That's a good point. So if you're going to give it a rating, what would you give it?
I need to say I would give the whole series 10 out of 10, because as for action, I find action so hard to enjoy, and it really does it all very, very, very well. So for the series as a whole, 10 out of 10. For the third movie, 9.5 out of 10 because of the weaker elements. Wow. Yeah, that's how good it is. So when
so while you're shitting all over it a minute ago,
I love it. It's brilliant.
This is the worst franchise ever. Keanu's got no range. You were proper kicking the man, and now he said he's a 9.5. Wow.
I mean, how can he even be in movies still? I don't understand
it. How can he still have a job? Yeah. I have to agree with a lot of what you said. I think it's a solid franchise. It doesn't seem like there's an end to these films, story wise. But I think you have to rate them as collective, like you said. As a franchise as a whole, I think they're great, solid action films. I'll give it 9.5. But as John Wick by itself, I think it's a great film. Watch it. I guess you could watch it in the cinema, or you could watch it at home, because the set pieces are great either way. And I'd give it a 9, solid 9. It's that at the end of the film, nothing was achieved. I think that was the only thing that I felt. At least, like if he'd fallen down the Continental and he was stood outside, so when the lady walked in and just shoots her in the head or something, and the film ends, I'm like, he at least killed her outside the Continental, and that's acceptable. Those kind of things. But it just ended with just kind of more story that they'll kind of somehow weave together. So I'll be interested. I'll still watch it anyway.
But it's good. It's like a comic book. It just keeps on developing, and they're going to just add more to it. So I'm looking forward to the rest. I'll probably come and shit on them and then say how great they are. The best movies ever, but I was disappointed. But I'm looking forward to the next ones. Yeah. I mean, I hope they make the High Table a bit stronger though, because at the moment it's just this lady and this guy in the background, and if they're really going to take on the High Table, they need to ramp up the personality of it, because a lot of guys it needs to get more personality for the High Table enemy, I think. Then
maybe get some named actors in there as well as part of the High Table.
Yeah.
So therefore, it seems like they've been around a while as well. So like when Common was in there, because he's a young-looking guy. I mean, he's a handsome fella, but he doesn't seem like he would be rugged, aged assassin. I'm sure he isn't in his 20s. But if they have an actor who looks a bit older, Josh Brolin's a great example. Benicio del Toro, as part of the High Table. Actors of that kind of caliber, that sort of age, who look a bit rugged.
Challenge, someone to look forward to. You want to look forward to boss fights, not just someone comes in randomly and he's a boss now. We want someone to be striving towards a beat. And
I recently saw Sicario and Sicario 2, and seeing Benicio del Toro, he would be incredible, like as part of the High Table, or maybe head of. And even Josh Brolin was amazing in that. So both of those two, team them up against John Wick on the High Table. That'd be incredible. Yeah, get some named actors in there, slightly older, so they seem like they have been part of this establishment for a while. They run the thing, and maybe they've been there from the start, that sort of thing.
Yes.
And
he's hoping.
Yeah, and then putting Charles Dance, as the man in charge. Why not?
Yeah.
I like Charles Dance.
And we'll come back after John Wick 4, and we'll see if they've listened to our advice.
And we'll talk about the high table again.
We'll talk about
how we would recast the high table.
Yeah, I mean, that woman, I wish they just killed her. She's
boring. Yeah. I mean, they could have had... I don't know that, because I think she's supposed to be quite wooden in her delivery of stuff.
Yeah,
so
she
has to be quite stern. But what would have been good was if she had a action sequence of her own. Then you almost think, okay, she's been established. We know you don't mess about with her. She's
Imagine if she just had one moment, just one tiny scene where she defended herself and escaped. She'd be like, "Wow, I did not know she could do action stuff."
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to the sequels now, because that's going to be a tough one.
Because what would have been good is if she came in, whichever female actor they got in, they should have got her in. They should have given her this action sequence that we see when she goes somewhere to see Laurence Fishburne, and she kills his entire group of people, and then she walks up to him, and then she delivers the dialogue, and someone else does the 7 cuts. But that would have given us enough to say she's a badass. So when John Wick comes up against her at some point, he's got a lot of work to do, because she's not just going to be a pushover kind of character. Also then she could almost we'll be like, okay, so she had that character development in this case, film number 3. By film number 4, we know who she is. And when she comes up on screen and John Wick's about to face off again, so we're like, oh, this is an evenly matched kind of battle now, because we know her really well.
I mean, she's a dick in this movie, but
she is. She just walks around.
At the end of the day, she's just doing her job. She's so bureaucratic. She's just like, do this, do this, do this. So you don't know really if you've got something against her or not, because she's just doing her job.
And you don't know if she knows how to handle herself, right?
Yeah, that's what I see. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's the only thing that could have been good as well, if they could have got her to be, if they just had that sequence. Cool. So tell us what you think. Hit us up with your likes and comments. Keep it locked down to My Guy Reviews. Bye.